Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in. Here's what we have for you today. House Republicans subpoenaed nearly a dozen former federal officials and politicians, including Bill and Hillary Clinton, as well as records from the Department of Justice yesterday amid an expanding probe into the deceased pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. President Donald Trump yesterday said that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent won't be in the running to become the next chair of the Federal Reserve. I'll tell you why in today's show. What's the appropriate response to a member of the U.S. House of Representatives declaring her allegiance to a foreign country before her own? I think she's chosen the wrong line of work. What do you think? And a Tennessee death row inmate cried out in pain during lethal injection after the state refused to deactivate his defibrillator, causing the left to claim he was the victim and not those he had murdered. Meanwhile, in South Carolina, an inmate on death row for 26 years now is again asking to fire his attorneys and withdraw his appeals so he can be executed.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, you know, they don't allow you to put names on bills, but I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
House Republicans led by Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer just dropped subpoenas yesterday on a lineup straight out of Washington elite. Bill and Hillary Clinton, James Comey, Robert Mueller, plus 6 former U.S. attorneys general, from John Garland to Jeff Sessions, along with records from the Department of Justice tied to Jeffrey Epstein. It looks to me like they're serious about getting to the bottom of this once and for all. We've had enough public distrust and unanswered questions, haven't we? I mean, why did Epstein die in custody? Was there a secret client list? We've been told for years that there probably was. Now we're told, well, nope, there's not. Was justice delayed or was it derailed? The DOJ memo that was released back in July supposedly did a systematic review and found no credible evidence of a client list or blackmail involving high-profile individuals. But guess what? The public's not buying it. A Quinnipiac poll found that over 60% of voters disapprove of how the administration handled the Epstein files, with just 17% approving. So Chairman Comer said enough's enough. He subpoenaed the DOJ to turn over the full, complete, unredacted Epstein files by August 19th. He also scheduled depositions in the coming weeks, starting with Bill Clinton on October 14th, Hillary Clinton on October the 9th. Other big names like Comey, Mueller, Barr, Holder, Lynch, Garland, Sessions, and Gonzalez are slated from mid-August through late September. The question is, are they going to show up? Or are we going to get into this long, drawn-out legal battle over their protections, over whether or not they do have to show up and testify? We'll see. So this is kind of interesting. Bill and Hillary Clinton goes from global power couple to defendants in a congressional subpoena. Not because of speculation, but due to documented connections, like Bill Clinton flying on Epstein's Lolita Express at least 26 times, and Hillary's ties to Maxwell Associated campaign staff. Comer noted they may have knowledge relevant to Epstein's trafficking network. We'll see. That's the whole question, or the whole idea of getting them in front of this House committee and sworn in. Want more irony? Even Democrats played a role here. Representative Scott Perry pushed the motion to subpoena the witnesses, and Representative Summer Lee, a Democrat from Pennsylvania, successfully voted for a motion demanding DOJ files. That bipartisan backing speaks volumes for where this may be headed. Now, some critics say Republicans are playing political theater. Subpoena everyone except Trump, pointing fingers while ignoring well-known past friendships with Epstein. Indeed, President Trump has been criticized, but no subpoena has been issued to him, not yet. Yet Republican Representative Thomas Massie and Democrat Ro Khanna are collecting signatures to force a discharge petition, pushing to bring a vote on releasing the files at pressure from both sides of the aisle. So here's the breakdown. Transparency and accountability is what everybody wants. If the public trust is shattered, we have to rebuild it. That means revealing every relevant detail. Apply the law equally. You don't get a pass because you're famous or you're wealthy. And this is about oversight, validating how DOJ and FBI handled the investigation and prosecution all these years. Former prosecutor Naima Rahmani told the New York Post he'd be surprised if Bill Clinton actually showed up. He could claim executive privilege, and Hillary could too. And that's what I'm concerned about. It's one thing to declare that you have issued a subpoena. It's another for the person, and especially Bill and Hillary Clinton, who think they're above the law. And hey, so far they have been. They've been allowed to be above the law. It's another to be able to enforce that subpoena. The DOJ also took a deposition from Ghislaine Maxwell in late July. Maxwell allegedly named about 100 people during the interview, though that appears under limited immunity. Her legal team is appealing for full immunity, but oversight has balked. They want what she knows, not any deals. And look, I don't know that the American public would stand for a deal. Would you? Do you think it's more important to offer Ms. Maxwell immunity in exchange for her information, or just get it another way? People are furious. To paraphrase President Trump's response, if it's credible, release it. And yet until now, we've seen nothing except partisan talking points. For too long, this story has been handled behind closed doors, and the public, we want it out. We want it out in the sunshine. Now, Congress is asking, show us the documents. Let former officials testify. That's not a witch hunt. That's just applying the rule of law. And let me be clear, none of those subpoenaed have been accused of criminal wrongdoing, but the office they held oversees investigations. If Epstein had partnerships or protected allies, Congress must review each oversight decision. I mean, the old saying, justice delayed is justice denied, I think that applies here, doesn't it? It's kind of like the elite, Democrats and some Republicans, have thought, well, we're going to run the clock out here. The longer we wait, the longer we delay this, and I'm sure that'll be the strategy used by Bill and Hillary Clinton and some of the others. We'll delay this subpoena as long as we can. We'll challenge it. If the public suspects elites were protected, and we do, if we can't even see grand jury materials, if the Clintons refuse to testify, and if DOJ just delays things, then we're going to know that our system is rigged. Expect headlines, of course. Expect spinning. But I think we have to demand the records, and I think the House Oversight Committee is in that position now. Demand deposition transcripts. Demand accountability, because when crimes that impact over 1,000 victims and countless survivors get swept under the rug, we lose not only trust but our own moral foundation, don't we? This committee is going after everything. Files, and testimony under oath. Finally getting to the bottom of this. Now, this is not something you get your popcorn out for. It's not entertainment. This is simply oversight under law. And the names going into record books include former presidents, FBI directors, and top DOJ officials. But it's time that they do, right? It's time that we get to see the information, then we can decide. Because up until now, we've had to just listen to the excuses. We've had to try to interpret this on our own without having all the information. And it just really makes you suspicious, doesn't it? The whole thing is suspicious. I mean, How many of you believe, and I'd love to get your feedback, you can text me, you can email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. You can leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. How many of you believe that Jeffrey Epstein really did commit suicide? I think I know the answer, but I'd still love to hear from you. There's just way too much fishy stuff going on here, right? Way too much. And it's time we know the truth. And I don't think until we look, let me back up and say this. It may be too late for all of us to think that we have the truth because there's been so much going on. I mean, like the whole thing just a few weeks ago by saying, well, there really wasn't a list. When we've thought and been told for years now that there was a list. If there really wasn't a list and that is proven somehow, will we ever really believe that? Is there anything that convinces you that there's not a list? I'd love to get your feedback on that too. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Is there anything that can come out that Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, any of the FBI, former FBI directors, is there anything they can say that's going to convince you that there really wasn't a list? I think we're past that, don't you? I mean, I think we've all made up our minds that, yeah, there's a list somewhere. And that list is so damning to so many people that at the highest levels of business and government, they're protecting this. But I think we have to let it play out. And let's let James Comer and the House Oversight Committee do their job so that we can hopefully get to the real truth. America is in a health crisis, and by America, not just strangers across the country. It's personal. Me, you, friends, and family. And a major cause? Excess weight. Joey Hudson here. The solution isn't expensive shots like Ozempic. It's learning how to eat and think about food differently, and that's what PhD Weight Loss does. Their clients lose up to a third of their body weight. No drugs, just real food, behavioral coaching, and proven science to turn your body into a fat-burning machine. Sure, you could spend up to $20,000 a year on injections that burn muscle, not fat, and come with risks like pancreatitis or bowel blockages, only to gain it all back. PhD helps your body naturally produce weight loss hormones like GLP-1s. No shortcuts, just results that last. Already on Ozempic? Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team will help you safely transition off and keep losing weight. Let's make America healthy again. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. Continuing today's show, if you've been paying attention, and I know you have, the fight over the Federal Reserve just took another turn. And yes, it involves President Trump, Jerome Powell, and a guy who's quickly becoming probably one of the most influential economic minds in the country. From Charleston, South Carolina, or was, he's since moved, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. So here's what's taking place here. Yesterday, President Trump, the guy who, as you know, doesn't mince words, went on CNBC and put the speculation to rest. He said loud and clear, Scott Bessent is not going to be the next chair of the Federal Reserve. Why? Because Bessent flat out told him, according to the president, nope, I want to stay where I am. Here's the exchange.
President Trump, you said there are 4 names. There are 2 other names that have been mentioned in the press. One is Governor Waller. The other is the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Are those the 4 that you're considering?
Well, I love Scott, but he wants to stay where he is. I'll take him off because I asked him just last night, is this something you want? Nope, I want to stay where I am. He actually said, I want to work with you. It's such an honor. I said, that's very nice. I appreciate that. But no, Scott wants to do what he's doing. He's doing a great job, and he wants to do what he's doing. So I just take him off. He does not want it. He likes being Treasury Secretary. He's doing a really good job.
So there you have it, straight from the president's mouth. And you know what? It kind of says something, doesn't it? It says that we have a Treasury Secretary who's not looking for headlines. He's just got his head down doing the work. And according to the president, he's doing a really good job. I'd agree with that. The man's been a hammer in trade talks. Remember, those so-called experts who said Trump would never pull off big trade wins, well, Bessent helped make those deals happen, the biggest in our history. And quite honestly, I don't know about you, but I'd never heard of Scott Bessent before. Did not realize that he lived in Charleston, South Carolina. Upon becoming Treasury Secretary, he soon after sold his home for like a record number. It was like $19-20 million or something. A beautiful home down on the Battery of Charleston. So here's the twist. While Bessent isn't taking the Fed job, that doesn't mean that we're not headed for a massive shakeup at the Federal Reserve, because President Trump's administration has already started the formal process to find Jerome Powell's replacement. Even though Jerome Powell has until, I think it's May of next year. Now, you remember the friction between Jerome Powell. Trump appointed him in 2017. Since then, their relationship's been like kind of watching a slow motion train wreck. Powell's still saying, and I'll read the quote, "I will never, ever, ever leave this job voluntarily." Well, that's kind of cute there, but in fact, you are going to leave next spring. And the Trump team, they're not going to let this one slide. This is bigger than personalities. It's about policy, very important policy. What we pay in interest rates for our car loans, for our home loans, for our boat loans, whatever you're borrowing money for, your business loans. Powell doesn't cut rates. Trump wants lower interest rates now. Powell's refusing to cut them because inflation's easing. Growth is holding strong. Americans are still struggling with high home costs. But the Fed, they've held the rate steady for 5 straight meetings. 5. Even though we had some good things going our way. And President Trump's had enough. You saw his post on Truth Social. He called Powell too stupid and too political to have the job of Fed chair. That's not vague. It's not subtle. That's Trump turning up the pressure, calling one of the key people in the administration too stupid. And look, he's not wrong. We've got inflation easing, yes. Tariffs, yeah, they raise prices a bit. That's debatable. We're still figuring that out. That's probably in the short term. But Powell's stuck in this D.C. think tank mentality that punishes growth when we should be leaning in. Trump says it plain. People need to buy homes. They need to refinance their homes. They need to be able to live their lives. The Fed is stuck in 2019. It's 2025, folks. It's time to lower the interest rates. And let me tell you, what this is really about is control of the economy in the second Trump term. Because whoever chairs the Federal Reserve will have massive influence over your mortgage, over your car payment, your credit cards, your future. And the president knows that. He's looking for someone who gets it, someone who understands how money moves in the real world, not just on Wall Street or in some academic bubble. And that's kind of where Jerome Powell is, isn't it? So let's talk about Powell again. This guy's out of touch. Just last week, he gets up there in front of the press telling us inflation is still above the 2% target. And they're going to wait and see, he says, again, before cutting rates. Meanwhile, gas prices are creeping. Grocery bills, they're still high. And guess what? Regular Americans are asking, why the delay? What's taking so long? You want to know what the delay means? It means higher interest on your credit card, which is costing you money every month if you haven't paid off your balance. It means fewer small business loans. It means your kids can't afford that first house. And Powell thinks that's okay. Well, President Trump doesn't. Scott Bessent doesn't. And frankly, I don't think any of you listening today, thinks that's okay either. And this isn't just about policy. It's about accountability. Trump picked Powell, yes. But when the guy veers off course, when the president holds him to it, that's what we expect. What other president went after their own Fed pick? What other president have you ever heard call one of his key people stupid? You see, the left calls it interference. But I think it's just Trump doing what he promised. It's oversight. The American people elects the president, not the Fed chair, to lead the economy. The Fed doesn't operate in a vacuum, not anymore. So it's time for Jerome Powell to get with the program or get out of the way.
Base en la gente.
Terminar diciendo unas palabras en español porque yo soy guatemalteca con mucho orgullo, primero que soy americana.
Okay, let me interpret that for you. I am a proud Guatemalan before I'm an American. A firestorm over loyalty, identity, and what it really means to serve as a United States member of the Congress has erupted after it was reported that those words were said by Representative Delia Ramirez of Illinois. She recently spoke at a leftist conference in Mexico, the Pan American Congress, alongside radical progressives. Now, during her remarks in Spanish, she declared, "I'm a proud Guatemalan before I'm an American." That translated snippet ignited widespread outrage across social media, as it should. Now, I don't care what language you speak. Honestly, the only way I was able to interpret that for you was because I put it in one of the interpretation apps because I don't understand Spanish. But if you're serving in the United States Congress and you say any other allegiance comes before America, I think you have a problem, a big one, especially if you're sitting on the committee that deals with our borders, law enforcement, and national security. This isn't a slip of the tongue, folks. It's a window into a mindset, a radical, open borders ideology that treats American citizenship like an afterthought. Now, predictably, the left jumped in with their usual excuses. The translation was off, they said. One said she meant she's proud of her Guatemalan heritage. Well, spare us the spin. If a Republican stood up in Germany and said, "I'm a proud German before I'm an American," the media would have that person tarred and feathered before lunch. But Ms. Ramirez, she gets a fact check and a round of applause from the same crowd that treats patriotism like it's a dirty word. Let's get something straight here. America is not a side gig, and especially if you're a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. You don't get to run around prioritizing foreign identities while cashing your congressional paycheck from the U.S. taxpayer. And let's talk about that taxpayer. You, listening right now, are working hard, paying your taxes, obeying the law, raising your family in a country built on sacrifice and unity, and yet we have a congresswoman saying that she puts Guatemala first at a time when our southern border, we're having to fight to keep it from being flooded again with illegal crossings, fentanyl pouring in, and ICE is understaffed and overworked, although the big, beautiful bill is about to fix that. Meanwhile, guess what? Ms. Ramirez is married to a man who's in the U.S. illegally, according to reports. She's literally in a mixed status marriage and using her position to advocate for sweeping immigration reforms that would give amnesty to people like her husband. Now, when patriots called her out, what did she do? She played the victim card, claimed people were attacking her heritage, claimed white Americans can say they're Irish American or Italian American without criticism. Wrong again. You can be proud of your roots. We all should be. That's not the issue. The issue is your order of allegiance. You can love your heritage, but not put it above your duty to this country, especially if you're making our laws, if you're a sitting House member. And the American people, I think they're fed up with it. They know it. Look at the backlash. Senator Mike Lee said, "Are you comfortable with this?" Conservative commentator Charlie Kirk, my colleague, said, "Anyone who values another country over America doesn't belong in Congress." Matt Walsh said she should be denaturalized and deported. Now, I don't know about all that, but I do know this. You don't get to rewrite the Constitution on the fly because you're offended by loyalty. Even the Department of Homeland Security quoted Theodore Roosevelt, "There's no room in this country for hyphenated Americanism. Our allegiance must be purely to the United States." Look, Roosevelt had it right. You want to serve this country? Fine. You want to lead? That's good. Great, actually. But you better believe in one flag, one constitution, one nation under God, no exceptions. Now, let's expose the double standard here. Ramirez says that she's attacked because she's Latina. Nonsense. Her race and her roots have nothing to do with this. It's her words and her priorities. If a white member of Congress said, "I'm a proud Russian before I'm an American," CNN would be screaming about treason. But Delia Ramirez, crickets. They don't want to talk about it. This isn't about identity. Again, it's about loyalty to a country that's been very good to her. I mean, let's just put this in plain English. You can love your culture, your parents' heritage, your traditions, but you serve America first. If you're in Congress, that loyalty better be crystal clear in word and in deed. If you publicly say your allegiance lies elsewhere, you should be disqualified from shaping American law. I think it's just that simple. It really is. And folks, this isn't isolated. This is a part of a broader movement on the left. They're pushing identity politics so hard they've forgotten that citizenship actually means something. That oath of office is not symbolic. It's a promise to uphold and defend this country, the country we live in and the country we should all love, not to celebrate some transnational dream where borders are optional and laws don't matter. That's why this story matters. It's not about speech. It's about what kind of country we want to be and what kind of country we want to defend. Do we want a Congress full of people more loyal to their cultural tribes and the Constitution? Or do we want leaders who are proud to be American, first, foremost, and always, no questions asked, end of sentence, period? I mean, that's the real question. So what should happen? You tell me. Love to get your feedback. Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. You can leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. What, if anything, should happen to Ms. Ramirez? I say at very minimum, she should be removed from the Homeland Security Committee. The Speaker should do that. He could do that. You can't manage our border if you don't put America first. And yes, voters in Illinois' 3rd District need to ask themselves this as well. Do you want someone writing immigration law who puts foreign allegiance ahead of national duty and national security? And Congress, I think it should reintroduce loyalty oaths and put some teeth in them, be able to enforce them. Not some checkbox, but a real test of allegiance, because, folks, if we don't demand clarity and loyalty now, we'll lose the meaning of citizenship altogether. It just really irks me. It really makes me angry to think that she cashes a check from us. We write our country writes her a check for serving in the U.S. House of Representatives, and this is how she feels about our country. This is how she acts. She goes to another country and talks about her loyalty to that other country. You can't serve two flags at once. Ms. Ramirez, she made her choice. The question is whether America will finally say, no more, we're not electing global ambassadors, we're electing U.S. citizens, Americans who are proud to be Americans and who want to proudly serve in the U.S. House of Representatives and do what's best for all Americans. And that's a very simple thing. It's a very simple question. It's not a right to serve in the U.S. House. It's a privilege that the people of the 3rd Congressional District in Illinois gave her. I hope she has someone challenging her in 2026. I hope she gets to be answer to the voters next year, and this question can really be answered. The people of the 3rd Congressional District can say, hey, look, we love our country. Yes, it has some warts. There are things we don't like about it. But overall, we're proud of it. And we're not going to go to some other country, and we're certainly not going to continue to vote for someone who goes to another country and trashes this country that we call home. You can't say, I'm an American first, with a stutter. If you can't be very proud of the fact that you're American first, you're in the wrong job if you serve in the U.S. House of Representatives. You agree? Text, email, joey@joeyhudson.com. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Byron Black was a death row inmate in Tennessee. He was executed yesterday morning for one of the most horrific crimes you can imagine. The cold-blooded murder of his girlfriend, Angela Clay, and her two young daughters, LaToya, age 9 at the time, and Lakeisha, just 6 years old. He shot them in their own home in a fit of jealous rage back in 1988. So let me stop right there. 37 years ago, that's how long it took for justice to finally catch up to this man. 37 years of appeals, lawyers, taxpayer money, and court dates while the victim's family waited for closure. And yet, when the time finally came, Black moaned during the lethal injection, saying, "Oh, it's hurting so badly," according to witnesses who were there. Why? Because the state did not deactivate his defibrillator before administering the drug phenobarbital. His lawyer argued the device might continue to shock his heart during the process. A judge even agreed, but the state Supreme Court reversed it. Now, some in the media have begun framing this as a tragedy, like he was the victim. Now, let's not lose our place here. He wasn't in that gurney for stealing a loaf of bread. He was executed for slaughtering a mother and two innocent children, shot them in their home. And for what? Because he was jealous. Now, that's not just evil. That's depraved. That's exactly the kind of case where the death penalty is not only justified, but it's necessary. Now, his spiritual advisor was there yesterday, singing and praying over him, which is a good thing. I'm thankful for that. But what about his victims? They didn't get a song. They didn't get comfort. They got murdered in cold blood at the young ages of 9 and 6, along with their mother. Now, his lawyer, Kelly Henry, says that he was a gentle, kind, fragile, intellectually disabled man. You don't get to kill 3 people and rewrite your biography from death row. The victims' families are still suffering. Lynette Bell, the sister of Angela Clay, said, "His family is now going through what we went through 37 years ago. I can't say I'm sorry because we never got an apology." Look, the left wants to talk about the pain of lethal injection. Let's talk about the pain of 2 little girls looking up at their mother's boyfriend with a gun in his hand. Let's talk about the pain of waiting nearly 4 decades for justice, watching politicians waffle and courts delay. Let's talk about the pain of a justice system that too often forgets the victims. This was only the second execution in Tennessee in 5 years. They just started back. And yet the outrage is all about the man on the gurney, not the family destroyed by his actions. Now, to be fair, should the state deactivate the defibrillators before lethal injection? I don't know, maybe. It's a valid procedural debate. But that's not the real story here. The fact is, he was going to die one way or the other. He wasn't concerned about the pain that his victims felt when he brutally murdered them. The real story is that the law worked slowly, unfortunately for the victims, painfully for everybody, but it worked. Byron Black is now the 28th person executed in America this year, already the most in a single year since 2015. That kind of tells you something. Americans are waking up. We're done coddling murderers who show no remorse. Now, meanwhile, you have an inmate on South Carolina's death row, James Robertson. He's been there for 26 years, convicted for brutally murdering his own parents in 1997, striking them with a hammer's claw, a baseball bat, and a knife. Apparently over a $2.2 million inheritance he was set to receive. Now, Mr. Robertson is asking the state to let him drop all appeals. He wants to fire his attorney and go ahead and allow his execution to proceed swiftly without any further delay. That's right. He wants to waive his appeals, effectively speeding up the process that's taken over 2 decades now. At a federal hearing yesterday in Charleston, Robertson's attorneys debated whether and how he should personally appear before a judge to explain why he chose to withdraw his appeals. Robertson previously sent a letter saying he had asked his attorney to comply, but was refused on ethical grounds. She wouldn't help him end his appeals and faced a moral conflict. Federal Magistrate Judge Mary Gordon Baker ruled that Robertson needs a mental health evaluation before any decision can be made. So she ordered both sides to agree that within 10 days, on an independent psychologist or psychiatrist to assess his competency to make the decision. The legal question is critical. Does Robertson knowingly and voluntarily waive his right to appeals? Because under law, you can't just decide to kill yourself legally. You have to be competent. And that's precisely the issue, I guess. Robertson's team, led by attorney Emily Pavla of Justice 360, argues that Robertson is suffering from depression, largely fueled by recent executions of fellow inmates he once knew, she says. Robertson has bipolar disorder, ADHD, dementia, kidney failure, back pain, and chronic skin problems. He's been off his medication for 3 years, and his depression deepens without it. Now, just think about that for a minute. This attorney is arguing that he's depressed, and so he shouldn't make this decision on his own. Now, if you'd been sitting in prison since 1997, thinking about murdering your own parents, I think you're going to be a little depressed. Don't you? I mean, being on death row by itself would make you depressed. Is that any reason to not be able to make the decision to go through with your execution, to put you out of your misery? His attorney said when his mental health was stabilized, Robertson consistently reversed his position, deciding at times to go forward with appeals after initially trying to drop them. She says that raises legitimate doubt if this is a rational, voluntary decision or the despair of someone mentally unwell. Meanwhile, the state contends that Mr. Robertson was found competent decades ago when he was sentenced to death, that he clearly understands the consequences, and that further appeals will be futile and punitive to victims' families. They say his choice should stand. And they're right. Because either way, eventually he's going to be executed. He's already been sentenced. He was sentenced to death. Why are we delaying this, and especially when he's asking for his own execution? So the real question here is, who truly has the agency or the ability, whatever you want to say, in the justice system? When someone like Robertson opts out of a process that's prolonged nothing but emotional agony, should he be allowed to do so? Can he make this decision himself? Or do we say mental health takes precedence over personal autonomy? I say we can probably do both. There's probably a happy medium here. Evaluate his mental stability. Respect the legal system. If he's competent, let him decide. If we prevent him from waiving his appeals without a good reason, then we're saying individuals don't have sovereignty over their own fate, even when facing a legal sentence. That just opens another Pandora's box. Yes, I'm sure he's depressed. I'd be depressed too. I would want to be executed knowing eventually I'm going to be executed, so why not go ahead and do it and get it over with? That's it for today's show. Tara's up next, followed by Mike Gallagher, Bill Frady, Charlie James. We're back again tomorrow at 5 a.m. for your first cup of coffee and more Sunrise Carolina. Till then, remember, folks, God's got this. He's still in control. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com. And I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at MyPillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.